Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Red Path. Today, me and Jamie are going to be discussing the groundbreaking week of Warhammer that just happened. We're going to chat about chapter approved, the FAQ, and what that means for us as the world leaders. Alrighty, Jamie. So, it's been another crazy week, dude. Whoa.
Yep.
Like, everything has changed. Everything has
It's
changed.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Man,
It's upside down world.
I would say this has like been the biggest revolution in the meta since 9th edition began.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Yeah, 100. Yeah, there's definitely been every codex has affected everyone and everything, right?
Mhm.
The way you build your list, what kind of units you've got to be able to deal with, and everything. But for the rules, the mechanics, how everyone plays, this has leveled the ground a lot. I think it's an absolutely great. Certainly the FAQ, which we're going to touch on at the end because we're going to split this into two. But the chapter approved, it's up and down.
Yep.
We're not going to go into it. I think everyone kind of knows the general consensus. Sorry about my scraggly beard here. I just noticed. I just got out of the shower. But yeah, professionalism. But yeah, I think everyone has a very similar opinion on chapter approved. And the content of it, like the necessity of a $40 or £30 or whatever it costs in Europe book.
Yeah.
I don't want to dwell on that.
Look, we've all heard and read the politics around it.
Yeah.
I think the community at large is in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is.
We'll stick to the meat. I mean, we're world eaters players. We just want to cut right into the heart of the matter here. So
let's do it, man. Let's get this one down. So what are we going to talk about first?
Well, let's do the secondaries first. I'm going to kind of defer to you a little bit because I've obviously read through them, and I've got my thoughts, but I know you have some good opinions. I think on certainly a couple of the ones that have quite drastically changed. So first of all, I think we're not going to go over every change. If people watching want to know all the details without buying the book, there's 100 videos uploading today, which are going to give you step-by-step breakdowns. But I want us to focus on the ones that are probably going to affect most World Eaters and Chaos Space Marine players and combat armies in general, I think. Behind enemy lines or whatever it's called now. That was quite a big change. What do you make of that?
Yeah, so one of the ones I actually like a lot more. So, previously we had domination behind enemy lines and engage on all fronts in that segment.
Yep.
It was always like pretty much an auto take to take engage from those. Because the other two were so much harder to score. But now the fact that behind enemy lines is a progressive element where you don't always have to have 2 units in the enemy deployment zone. You can still get points if you only get 1.
Yeah.
And I was saying it to you before about how like that happened to me so many times where I would only just get 1 unit in and it would result in me getting no points,
Yeah.
But now I'm still getting something for that,
Yeah.
I'm not maxing it out, but I'm accumulating those points,
Mm-hmm.
And the way I always see it, and I believe this is GW's philosophy, but behind designing the secondaries, and it's one that I'm really behind, they're not meant to be maxed out, A secondary is not the focus of the mission. That's why it's called a secondary.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of like that. It's unlikely that you will max out a lot of secondaries these days, unless it's like certain matchups or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really approve of this change. I think there's a lot to be said for different elements of World Leader armies, like having to consider this now as a legitimate possible secondary. If you're someone who struggles with engage on all fronts, as I think you are, right, Jamie? You've had a bit of trouble with that. This one is like much easier. The payoff is smaller, But you know,
can,
like we're world leaders, we're getting into that deployment zone anyway, or at least you know
we're
we
trying
would hope
to.
that exactly, yeah. And certainly, there's a couple of units we might talk about later that are achieving that secondary a lot faster.
Yes,
but
controversial stuff coming up.
Yeah, look, I think it's really good. It's a really healthy change, and it serves to balance out the selection of secondaries from that category in a way that I really like, where I think both engage and behind enemy lines are maybe not equally valid in my mind, but certainly closer to being equal.
Yeah, there's obviously both of them rely on being able to move far and fast early, or at least from round 2, depending on if you're taking true flyers or hell drakes or deep striking units. But there are options there. Obviously, your true flyers can't score the behind enemy lines, but we've got a choice. There is now actually a choice that, depending on your deployment, depending on your map, your opponent, are they able to screen you out real good? Are they quite elite? You're going to have things, okay, I don't think I can max out, behind enemy lines because they've bought anti-air units, but I think I can safely get one unit in a corner every turn, which does kind of seem to stack quite nicely with one of the other big changes, which comes to previously deploy scramblers. It's now called something ridiculous, but I think we're gonna change the name again. And what are we calling it, Darryl?
Yeah, we're calling it Khorne's Treasure Hunt, because some weird part of the fluff is like you got to collect servo skulls. I don't care about servo skulls. The berserkers are rooting around looking for the skulls. That's all it is. But yeah, man, I love this change. I love it so much. Mm-hmm. I think probably my favorite change would be this one.
I've come around to it. The earlier previews
iteration,
which were available last week, during the week before the official release. I was a little confused. We've talked before, and I'm completely open about it. Like, micromanaging my game is something I struggle with. I'm fine if I've got a strategy, and my personal strengths lie elsewhere. But the kind of bookkeeping, the remembering a dice roll at the start of the round, remembering to declare this action. However, I think this change to it, whilst it's essentially the same mechanic of declaring an action, on a part of the board, because I do, even though like engaging all fronts has been a bit of a struggle because of using the Hellblades for me, while I'm trying to fix that. So now I'll be like, okay, so I'm moving this unit into this corner to score engage. Oh, that's right, I need to also retrieve a servo skull. Hey, opponent, I'm this unit here within 6 inches of the other quadrants is retrieving a servo skull. Done. You can get more points, but exactly to your previous point, even if you don't max out, you get 2, 3, or 4 quadrants, you're getting something. Which, that deploy scramblers, you only got 10, but it was all or nothing. You either did it or you didn't. And sometimes you might get 2 of them, like turns 1 and 2, and then that third turn, you're like, I've really got to get a primary. I can't sacrifice this unit to get scramblers, because if I don't get this primary point, then my opponent's holding more, and it's like a 15 or 20 point swing. So it takes that bad choice away.
I love it. I mean, it's literally like you said, you might not always get those, the full complement of the 3 objectives for the previous deploy one. Now I'm visualizing it in my head. I'm starting with my 2 Raptor squads in my own deployment zone, 1 in each quarter. They're immediately first turn, they're just doing that action. I've got points, straight away. They're doing that. Then they're moving out in the next turn.
One of them is.
Yeah, sorry, exactly. Yeah. So the first one's like coming out. But like, it's all about the positioning,
Exactly.
Like, you could just have these guys lurking around doing, getting ready and all that sort of stuff.
Well, and your apostles
the Dark Disciples, they can do it too. So you want to probably keep those for like the further up the board ones, because you don't want them separating from him too early on in the game.
That's true, but
and at least in my list anyway, he's hanging out with the drills. So unless there's very specific movement going on, maybe it works. But honestly, man, I love it. I think it's so good for just like consistently racking up the points, especially because like you're probably doing like a lot of the things like anyway, you know, you're moving into those quarters for engage or whatever. It's just a fantastic change,
Absolutely.
and it really makes like deploy scramblers or whatever it's called now, Khorne's treasure hunt. It makes it an attractive choice for not just our army but a lot of other armies. I'm way more into it, man. I love the idea of actions, you know. I think it brings a cool element to the game, and I think a lot of these secondary changes make actions more interesting.
Absolutely,
which is great, you know. We like to see that.
I think it's good. I think it also plays or tempts players to play a wider game, which the primaries tend to do anyway. But Scramblers, original Scramblers, was very much just go wherever you want. This, it's coupling with engage. We're forming our battle lines. You know, exactly like you said. Maybe one unit of Raptors is sitting back for a turn. And the other one zooming forwards, or whatever your strategy is. We're going a bit wider, which is good in my opinion for us. It's like we want the enemy to come, and we want to meet them on a kind of flat line, because when it's one combat versus one combat, we probably win. It's when we, you know, are stacking two units on one unit and they can interrupt.
It gets messy.
And you know, there's all kinds of problems. But I think when we are offered something that improves our ability to balance combat, we are very good at trading up in a 1 versus 1, or just outright annihilating and you know, and really trading. But
no, totally. And I mean, it serves to disperse the armies overall on a table anyway, which is great because it moves away from Death Star style lists, which, like, look, let's be real, I don't have any fun playing against those. But yeah, like it's great to see that change to the game system, which like it seems that like every one of these like FAQs or chapter approves, the game moves closer to something that I really like, and further away from certain styles and builds that I previously really didn't like. So honestly, I'm really happy. I'm really looking forward to playing this new iteration of competitive gameplay. And these secondary changes, I love them. You know, I think it's really good for the game.
There's only really, I mean, there are obviously lots of secondary changes. I think World Eaters players definitely need to be aware of psychic changes, even though we don't use them.
Absolutely.
You know, previously, where we talked, you really reinforced that. Because whilst we won't use them, we're going with Grey Knights, Thousand Suns coming out, Eldari and Tyranids eventually going to get a codex. We need to be aware of them and how we can now counter them with our limited availability to do so. So I don't want to dive into them because we're not taking them, but I think we need to, you know, as World Eaters players, we need to read through them. We need to know what our opponents can bring. But the final. Lots of changes. I'm not belittling any of them, but the final one which I really want to focus on, the final couple really, big stompy robots. They're coming back, aren't they? I think they're coming back, man.
There's so many. Yeah, there's so many reasons as to why this is going to happen, but to touch on the secondaries first of all. So previously, I would bring my Kaitan, and I would automatically be giving up 10 points to my opponent, because all you would have to do is kill him, and you would gain 10. As a Knight player, I would bring an army of Knights, which I think is really cool. And my Warlord Knight will die in turn 1 and give up 25 points or something crazy like that.
It's ridiculous.
It was so punishing, and now I'll bring my Kaitan, and he's only going to give up 4 points if he dies. And you're a fool if you take that secondary against me, because you're only going to get 4.
4 points. You're going to want to kill the Lord of War, but there's very minimal reward.
What are you going to get from it? You know?
All you're doing is saving your army, but that's kind of the point of bringing the Lord of War often anyway, is to deflect the firepower from your rhinos or your drills or your point scoring unit.
It's such a good change.
Choice now.
It's fantastic. It opens, like, we're going to talk a lot more about exactly why Lord of Wars are more interesting now, but this is one of several things that have gelled together to make it so that the Lord of War choices for the World Eaters, not necessarily Allied Knights, but you know, your Kaitans, your Brass Scorpions, your Fellblades, Spartans, Karabaduses, all those units are now suddenly a lot more attractive, and dare I say, even competitive. You know, it's a
there's
very
a
very interesting
conversation
time.
to be had now. Before
Exactly, that's
it.
it.
Was a
Yeah,
meme.
there is a conversation.
Now we can theory craft and test it out on TTS, and you know, there is play. There is a way. Our Carnage for a Cause match, you know, a couple or 3 months ago.
It's different now. Those lists are so different.
Yes, very different.
In a very good way.
Yeah. So yeah, like Lord of Wars, and like I said, we're gonna touch on them when we talk about AdMech in a separate video, and we're also gonna touch on them again when we talk about the FAQ. And I think that that's the big one. Well, wait, no, sorry. Yeah, the what changed in the FAQ for?
No, it was sorry, in chapter approved is the exactly.
Chapter approved
that's
is where
it's so confusing to work
so
out.
much information. So much information
it's an
in
overload.
1 week.
But yeah, so we also had the removal of Kingslayer as well. So if you are a Knights player, you know, you don't get severely punished for Knight Warlords now, which is fantastic. Means less so much for the World Leaders because, you know, you're not bringing your Kaitan as your Warlord, obviously. But, you know, a lot of us play Chaos Knights, you know, or if you play Demons, the really big guys like Angarath and stuff, you know, they're your Warlord as well. It's great news for these units too. You know, there's a whole, and I mean, it's a good question as to whether or not Be'lakor is going to be a Lord of War, but
there'll be specific rules to allow him.
Yeah,
it's going to be written into either his Legion or whatever.
I imagine he will be a Lord of War because I'm sure he's going to be a Supreme Commander.
Yeah.
And I think you have to be a Lord of War to be a Supreme Commander. I'm not positive on that. Don't quote me on that.
We don't have Angron, so I've never used one. So.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know I was looking at it pretty recently because there was like a conversation about those keywords, but I think you have to be. Yeah. Or else there isn't a Lord of War currently, or there isn't a Supreme Commander who isn't a Lord of War currently.
Yeah, that sounds about.
Yeah. Anyway, good changes.
But yeah. So the Lord of War stuff generally, for just general, but especially for Khorne players, quite frankly, with the Kaitan, the Lord of Skulls, and stuff like the Charybdis as a transport options are always something we have to think about, right?
Yeah.
But let's move on to the last section of this, and points. Points wasn't a major overhaul across most armies, but we got a few, and I think really, whilst we got about half a dozen, there's 3 that really kind of stuck out as okay. There's 4, but we're not talking about the 4th one here. There's 3 because we're gonna have to eat some crow, I think, but we'll do that in the next video.
Oh yeah, I'm fully ready.
But the 3, and you know what you're saving for me, but I'm gonna let you take the first 2.
Sure, man. So like the most boring one, I guess, is like the cultists dropping by a point, and while it's boring because it's just cultists, it's really really good. You know, 100 points for 2 squads of cultists now. Sit in your back line, do whatever. It's fantastic. It's really really useful. Cultists are not like back in a big way, but there's certainly, again, there's a conversation to be had, like you said. You know, we need to consider, you know, if points are tight, maybe we're going to invest in some cultists for some objective holding. And I'm happy about it. You know, I think they're a cool unit to have, and it's nice to see that they're not entirely useless now. As to whether or not I'll personally be bringing them myself, I would say probably not. It's more like an aesthetic thing for me that I don't like to have them in my army. But, you know, I can certainly see how they can be used in such a way that is very useful as just like guys who do actions, guys who hold down the backfield, you know, just guys who score you points, which is like really important in 9. So yeah, happy changes, I think, for that one.
Yeah. I agree. I like the cultists now. I didn't before. I like them now. I think 50 points is incredibly significant, losing 10 points a squad. I think it makes a difference.
Absolutely.
They've got a home for me now.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. And I will certainly consider them when I'm planning my more cutting edge competitive lists, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after that we have the Venom Crawler, which is like a long time one of my favorite units, or at least one of my favorite demon engines. In fact, I would go so far as to say it, apart from the Lord Discordant, it's my favorite demon engine. Okay. I think they're really cool and really freaky, but I've always found them quite useful, and anytime I've brought them to a tournament, my opponents have always been like, "Ha, I underestimated that Venom Crawler," and it cost me big time
Yeah.
because they slap in combat, and they're okay at
tasty.
shooting. Yep, yeah, they're fine at shooting. And as world leaders, you know, they're just a cool unit to have in a world leaders army. But they're really good accompaniment for a Lord Discordant because, you know, you can advance them with the board. They can still shoot because their guns are assault. But now that I think they're now the cheapest demon engine that we have available.
I believe so, yeah.
At 110 points, yeah. That's
110.
fantastic. That is really cheap. Like, there's not a lot of other units in our codex who do what a Venom Crawler does for 110 points. I think if you're running anything that synergizes with the demon keyword,
yes,
Lord Discordance, Greater Possessed, anything like that, these are a strong consideration. I don't think I would ever choose a Mauler Fiend or a Forge Fiend over a Venom Crawler at the minute. A Bloodslaughter is a tougher discussion,
but they sit in separate homes, got fast attack and heavy support, which
means you can run both.
Well,
is there a list with 6? I don't know. I want there to be.
I know it would be nice, but listen, I have to make a counter argument to you. Because that's the issue for me, the heavy support. I've been a skeptic of the Venom Crawlers, and I'm not going to go into the detail. Been a skeptic. The 110, I'm less of a skeptic. I'm kind of sold. I am now. However, they are heavy support, and a battalion which is generally what we run.
You can only get 3, man. You can only get 3.
It's hard to. We can do a brigade, but it's difficult. So you've only got 3 slots. And there's one final unit I want to talk about for the saved on point. Okay, so this unit, I know you don't know what I'm talking about. You've got no idea what I'm going to bring up. So I'm going to describe some stats to you, and I want you to tell me what you think it is. Okay, so it's a toughness 5 unit. It's got 5 wounds. Okay. It's putting out 12 heavy bolter shots at ballistic skill 3. Okay, and it's in heavy support. What unit do you think that is, Darren?
It sounds like it should be a Havoc squad, Jamie.
Yeah, at 135 points, I believe, for a squad of 5.
Sounds like a pretty expensive squad.
It does. What if I told you yesterday you could save 40 points or 50 points on that? Whatever. If I could get you that squad for 85 points, I think it'd be.
Couldn't do it. I don't think so.
Oh yes, you could. Oh yes, you could. Yesterday,
come on, man, tell me how.
Yesterday, you could get a rapier battery with a quad heavy bolter with exactly those stats: T5, 5 wounds, 12 heavy bolter rounds, hitting on 3s for 85 points. That was yesterday.
Good deal.
I think that's a phenomenal deal. But wait, there's more. There's more.
Go on.
Today it's 75 points. They just took 10 points off the top for no reason at all. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's sold out again on Forge World.
Of course it is.
Of course it is. GW, you
who like
Forge World?
They like genuinely who? I am so curious who made that change. Who had an army of rapier carriers and was like, oh, I can't make it work. I'll go to the rules team and be like, guys, what can you do there? We can drop it 10 points for you. He's like, okay, maybe I can make it work now. Man, it's such a bizarre change. I am not unconvinced it's not a typo.
I know. Yeah.
But it's great. It's fantastic. You know, it's so good. So good.
It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. It does. Whilst it's amazing, it really pisses me off because I'm pretty sure now someone, you know, in a big, you know, a good competitive player who's probably had an eye on them, but was like, well, you know, I'm running Slanesh obliterators or something. Now they might think, okay, I can sacrifice some of this, you know, long range Daka, or some of this heavier Daka that I've got in my Oblitz or whatever. I'll take it, and then, you know, that frees up a couple squads of cultists I don't have to take because these 3 rapiers can sit on objectives or screen out my back, and now I've suddenly got like 300 extra points because of the units I've swapped out, and they're going to get the credit for it, and it pisses me off because, god damn it, I've been behind the rapiers since 8th edition, Now they weren't great then. They were good, but they weren't great.
They were respectable.
They were okay. But when like Ninth dropped basically, and we got the new Imperial armor, and they took the cost away from the heavy bolter option and the graviton option. And I think they swapped the C-beam for something, or I can't remember exactly how it all came. Because I have a physical one that I would run as a quad heavy bolter or a C-beam, but now I can't run the C-beam after I just bought 4 C-beams from Forge World.
Oh, dude, that sucks.
I've got 2 contemptors, but I don't want to run C-beams on contemptors now either, because the boards are smaller. So
well, I don't know. I was looking at them recently because you can move and shoot them now.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's definitely. Oh, it's such a shame because I love the C-beam. I think it's such a cool gun.
I think they're going to count as
that's
graviton.
fine. I mean, dude, they can count as whatever you want them to. You know, it's your army at the end of the day.
And you know what? I don't want to drag it on, but I think we're going to have a sit down conversation and do some math, Hammer, because I'm thinking graviton may actually start to become a thing. And I know you talked about it. I know you've invested in some grav weaponry yourself.
Yeah, so. I'm gonna run some this weekend. I've got a game coming up, and I want to see how it does. It's really hard. It's such a tough gun. Like, you look at it on paper, and it's one of those ones that you're like, I really won't know about this until I try it out. So I'm gonna slap it on my Leviathans and just see, because it's the cheapest option for the Leviathan.
Okay.
Saves me more points, you know. I don't know. I need to try it out. Like, watch this space. I'll get back to you guys. But I mean, lucky thing is I'll be magnetizing my Leviathan, so it can just be whatever I want it to, you know. But yeah, I'm curious about the grav now, and I think on the carriers as well, I like the profile of it. It's a very, very interesting weapon, and I think moving towards a strong AdMech and a strong Dark Eldar meta, I think the grav could be good against both of those.
There.
Yeah,
because
that's the thing.
It's 3 damage against Death Guard. It's 2 against anyone with a 4 up or worse save. But once you hit power armor, it's 3 damage. And you know,
I mean, you're killing the Plague Marines, and it's blast as well, so it can really tackle those larger squads of them. Man, I don't know. I think we could be sleeping on grav. I'll be the first to say it. We might be sleeping on grav. Remember when I found everything I could strap Volkites onto? Yeah. I'm gonna be finding everything I can strap grav onto.
Well,
now.
I think we this week has changed so much. I think the dust has to settle. But I think it's something we all need to be thinking about. It's just good to know about these things.
Yep.
Because especially on a points cheap weapon, on a points cheap unit.
For sure.
I'm going to build my list. I'm going to get my list finalized, and I'm going to the LVO. I bought my ticket for the LVO.
Dude, I'm so hyped. I'm so jealous and so hyped for you. I'm actually so excited for you, dude. It's funny because the LVO usually happens the same weekend as my favorite tournament in Ireland as well. Okay. So we're both gonna be there, you know, at our different events and stuff, duking it out. Man, I'm so hyped for you though. It's gonna be so much fun.
I'm going there to have a blast. If I win one game, I'll be happy. I'm going there for the experience. I seriously, I'd love to do well. The best case scenario for me is to get 2, maybe 3 wins out of the 5 that I'm basically guaranteed to get. But it's just an experience, and I want because we've talked about our kind of our documenting our journey.
I was just about to mention it. Yeah, I was like, this is the perfect road path. Yeah,
and I know you've got a couple big tournaments already booked up. I've got Coventry, right?
Coventry in November. That's it's a super major. So I think it's actually the 3rd biggest tournament in the world, or is set to be anyway. Something like 450 players. So I'm really, really excited about that. It's going to be, I think it's 8 games. Yeah, it's 3, 3, and 2. So I've never done that many games in a weekend. I'm really excited. That's start in November, and then I have the Manchester. I think it's also a super major, or it might just be a major. It's 250 people.
Yeah.
That's next March, so March of 2021. So who knows what will happen by then?
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of hopeful RTTs and stuff coming up. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
things are starting to reopen here. The discussion is starting again. Man, I can't wait. I'm so ready to get out there and start going to events. It's been such a long time for me, dude. I'm so jealous every time I see like people in the Discord or in any of the chats being like, "I'm going to this tournament." I'm just like, I hate you so much. But yeah, yeah, it's gonna be for me. It's gonna be the road to November. I think that's when I'm gonna really properly like sweat it out. I want to do really well in that tournament. Yeah, so yeah, it's an exciting time for both of us. You know, big events.
So yeah, I'm just worried that I'll get a list sorted, and you know we'll get our winter kind of early January FAQ just before LVO, and then rapiers will be like 185 points or something.
Well, there'll certainly be a chapter approved before then, you know. So we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, I mean, look, the meta changes so much. Like it literally, you know, it changed this week.
We could have a codex before then.
Man, at this point I just don't know what's gonna happen. You know, I genuinely just don't know. But yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap this one up because we're going to take a 10-second break and then start all over again and make another video. So
move on to the FAQ. But
we'll split it up for people because some people may have a chapter approved overload but want the FAQ. Some people might be vice versa.
Exactly.
So, do you want to take us out this one, and then I'll briefly, after a minute, I'll walk us back into the next one.
Sure, let's do it. Yeah, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Look, there's a lot to be taken from this. The scheming is going to begin in full force now. I'm really excited to see what all of you come out with in terms of your new lists, your new ideas. I'm just so hyped for us all. It's going to be fantastic. So try out new secondaries. You know, experiment with new lists. Look at things in a new light and just come at this with a fresh mindset. But yeah, so stay healthy, everyone. Stay safe and kill main burn.